Here's the thing. Die Hard checks all the Christmas movie boxes. It's set on Christmas Eve, there's a corporate Christmas party, and John McCane's entire mission is to reunite with his family for the holidays. That's peak holiday movie energy. We all have that one holiday movie that we watch every year. One that makes us laugh, one that makes us cry, or one that we can quote every line from. Mine happens to be Friday After Next.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Jingle Bell!
But did you know that some of your favorite holiday movies almost didn't make it to the big screen? Production disasters, budget battles, and outright cancellations. Some of these behind-the-scenes stories are wilder than the movies themselves. Today we're counting down the top 5 holiday movies that almost didn't get made. Trust me, the fact that they even made it to the big screen is a holiday miracle. Let's get into it. First up at number 5 of the holiday movies that almost didn't get made is the movie that made Tom Hanks everybody's favorite train conductor, Polar Express. But did you know that this movie almost didn't happen because of how unsettling it looked? Yeah, back in 2004, Polar Express was a gamble. 20 years ago, it used groundbreaking motion capture technology to create fully animated characters. But early audiences were not impressed. Critics called the characters creepy, lifeless, like staring into the dead eyes of an uncanny valley on Christmas morning was a quote. The people who made Polar Express spent millions of dollars tweaking the characters because early screen tests had kids saying that they were terrified. But even though it was eerie to some, Polar Express ended up becoming a massive hit. It grossed over $300 million in the box office, and Tom Hanks voiced not only one character, he voiced 6. I wonder what that paycheck looks like. Yeah, so Polar Express wasn't perfect, but thank God it didn't get derailed entirely, because now I can't imagine Christmas without it. Number 4 on our list of holiday movies that almost didn't make it, we have the classic, It's a Wonderful Life.
I'll give you the moon, all right?
I'll take it. Then what?
Well, then you could swallow it.
Now, I know some of you are saying that this movie is too old and maybe too white for you to have ever watched. But I tell you the truth, I watched it a lot growing up. Today, it's a holiday staple, but back in 1946, it was a total flop. Director Frank Capra poured his heart and soul into this film, but at the box office, it was a total flop. Why? Well, post-World War II audiences weren't in the mood for a heartfelt redemption arc. They wanted big, flashy musicals. Cue the musicals. To make matters worse, It's a Wonderful Life went over budget and nearly bankrupt the studios. Critics loved it, but financially it was a disaster, and audiences, they didn't really care for it either. The only reason this movie became a hit was because the copyrights, well, they expired in 1970. When that happened, TV stations could air it for free, so they played it on repeat over and over again during the holidays because it cost them no money. And just like that, it became a beloved tradition. Capitalism at its finest. So next time you call this movie a timeless classic, just remember it took 30 years and a copyright loophole for it to happen. Just goes to show you, you show people something enough times, they'll probably start to like it. All right, number 3 on the holiday movies that almost didn't get made, one of my personal favorite ones, A Nightmare Before Christmas. A Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a classic now, but at one point, Disney almost scrapped the entire thing. Why? And this is a quote, because it was too weird. Back in the 90s, Disney didn't know what to do with Tim Burton's twisted vision. He wasn't seen as a visionary and a genius back then. He was just a weird guy that made weird movies. And a Christmas movie? Who's the audience? Who asked for this? Executives were so confused, they nearly pulled the plug on the entire thing halfway through the production. And that's not to mention the animation. It took 3 years to animate this movie. 3 years. Because in the 90s, every single frame was painstakingly created with stop motion. I know some of you guys are too young to remember the 90s, but it's true. Imagine spending a whole week just to animate Jack Skellington walking across the street. That's a week of your life you'll never get back. Here's the kicker, when the movie finally came out, it wasn't even a hit. Audiences still thought it didn't gain its cult following and success until years later, proving that a thing can sometimes be too weird. Today, this movie is beloved by people all around the world. So remember, if somebody ever tells you to pick a lane, Tim Burton picked two. All right, number 2 on the list of holiday movies that almost didn't get made, we have another one of my personal favorites. It's Elf, the movie that made Will Ferrell scream, "Santa!" in tights. And somehow he made it endearing. But did you know that this movie almost didn't happen because people thought it was too goofy? The script for Elf sat on a shelf, you see what I did there, for nearly half a decade because nobody wanted to take a chance on it. Studios thought the story was too ridiculous and casting Will Ferrell was seen as a gamble back then. Will Ferrell was a relatively unknown actor back then. He was only really known for SNL, so the thought of putting him at the lead of a very weird movie was seen as a huge risk. And the original script was dark. It was almost scary, a lot less funny than the Buddy the Elf we know now. Imagine Buddy with zero Christmas spirit, a vendetta, and a chip on his shoulder. Not exactly the holiday vibe, right? When this movie finally got made, it turned Will into a bona fide superstar and it smashed the box office. It made $220 million, turning Will into a household name. Also that iconic scene, "Santa, I know him," completely improvised. Shout out to improv. Second City fam, how you doing? So yeah, Elf went from a big ol' maybe to a must watch. And honestly, who could have pulled off that much syrup in spaghetti? Another fun fact about this movie is all those weird things that Will Ferrell was eating, he actually ate them. The syrup in the spaghettis, the M&Ms, all those weird concoctions. Yeah, he had to do that take after take after take. Talk about earning your check. All right, before we get to the number 1 movie on our list, sometimes the internet is at odds. It's so at war with conflicting ideas that you can only shake your head. It's time for my favorite segment, but why though? Every year the internet blows up on this. On one side, you have Christmas trees and Christmas carols. On the other, explosions don't count as holiday cheer. Of course, we're talking about Die Hard. Here's the thing. Die Hard checks all the Christmas movie boxes. It's set on Christmas Eve, there's a corporate Christmas party, and John McCain's entire mission is to reunite with his family for the holidays. That's peak holiday movie energy. Then you had the counter argument. Die Hard is an action movie. The plot revolves around terrorists. Do terrorists not celebrate Christmas? Maybe not. Plus, I get it. It's hard to feel festive when Bruce Willis is bleeding from his feet crawling through air ducts. And if we're letting Die Hard into the holiday movie club, what's next? Fast and Furious Christmas Adrift? Actually, I'd watch that. Yeah. Ultimately, Die Hard is whatever you want it to be. A holiday movie, an action movie. It's another reason for you to argue with your family at Christmas dinner. It's the gift that keeps on giving. All right, I leave it to you guys. Leave it in the comments. Do you think Die Hard is a holiday movie or not? And make sure you let me know, but why though? And finally, the number 1 movie on the list of holiday movies that almost didn't get made, one that plays every year in my house, it's Home Alone. In 1990, the original Home Alone movie had a modest budget of about $10 million under Warner Brothers. But when the studio realized they had gone over by $1 million, they pulled the plug. Literally, they just shut down the whole production. Enter 20th Century Fox, who swooped in, picked up the project, and got everybody back to work and saved Christmas. Saved the movie. This gamble paid off big time. They spent $11 million and this movie made $476 million in the box office worldwide, becoming one of the highest grossing comedies of all time. Oh, and another great improv note, Macaulay Culkin, he improvised the aftershave scene. Talk about becoming a star in the moment. So yeah, Home Alone isn't just a holiday classic, it's proof that there are idiots and heroes in Hollywood. And there you have it, the top 5 holiday movies that almost didn't make it, from Elf to Home Alone. These stories go to show you that sometimes even the best ideas have to fade some obstacles. Next week, to end the year, we're diving into global events that you might have missed in 2024. If you like this type of content and can't wait till next week, please check out last week's episode, the top 5 lies we tell our children and why we do that, the history behind that. That's so cool. See you guys next week. Thanks for watching Concepts of a Show. I'm Andrew Tyree.